Why, hello there, Nice Tail here. I hope this video finds you very, very well today. I am bringing you... Sorry for the the old pause there. Allergies are really killing me. Possibly actually killing me. I'm breathing issues. I'm bringing you a summary of a knife I've done a full review on. The full review will be linked down below. This is the Remette Woodpecker. Why did I say it like that? I don't know. I'm probably not going to say it again too many times. Hey, hey, cooperate. You were cooperating just fine a second ago. Nice sometimes. Well, as I said, this is the Woodpecker, done a full review on it. And this is a good knife. This is a small knife. This is... I think it comes to just about 3 inches of blade. Yeah, I mean... If you go to the start of the handle... Why am I saying words weird today? Ugh. If you go to the start of the scales, you have just under 3 inches, just barely under 3 inches. But, I mean, you could argue that if you go over here, or you go to the end of the plunge grind or something like that, you're just getting just barely over 3 inches, so, maybe don't carry it in a place that has a 3-inch knife law because you are taking a risk, is basically what I'm getting at. Pretty small knife, though. However, I can get a full 4-finger grip, which is very nice, and it's actually quite comfortable for these angular-looking scales. Quite comfortable. Of course, the elephant in the room is these green crystal titanium scales. They have blue, they have like pink or purplish or something. But they also have some plain ones where it's just like silver and there's like a black triangle right here because you can see kind of the milling in it. So there are definitely some interesting options. It is on bearings. It is in M390 blade steel, and Remette, honestly, Remette does good work. For not having the deepest or the highest grind here, this is pretty darn reasonably thin. The plunge grind could be a little bit better, but the sharpening tool is fine, and believe it or not, even though that looks like it's really close to where you're hitting, I mean, it's hitting back here, where you got full stock thickness. That's not really where you're going to want to cut in a sharpening tool. It will be up here, which you can do. Front flipper. Obviously, as you can sort of see the shape of a woodpecker's head in that front flipper. Or not in the front flipper, but in the general blade itself. And reverse flicking hole, which is a little bit tricky, as you saw me struggle with it earlier. It's the hole itself, the big aperture, is kind of too tight to really get into comfortably. You can use it for the thumb flick, but it's not really good for the reverse flick. Honestly, with the reverse flick, you're kind of just flicking off of this line over here. It works. It honestly works better with the meat of your finger than it does with the nail, but you can definitely do it either way. The front flipper, that's a good... Honestly, I was just about to mention it, and that's like a perfect segue into it. The front flipper jimping is not perfect or ideal, honestly. It doesn't jimp all the way around. It's not like amazing jimping. It's honestly just because it's so high and far in relation to the pivot that it works as well as it does. But if you go up too high, you can easily slip off. However, because of its positioning and shape, it is very functional. It just could be a little bit better on the jimping. Lock bar axis is great, as you can see. Very easy to disengage. Drops there. Nice smooth drop from there. This one is centered without play. The other elephant, though this one is hidden, is that the hardware is nowhere to be seen. That is because of this button right here. Let's see if I can get it to do it right now. Push that up. Slide that slightly forward. And the whole thing pops off. The hardware is under here. It is unfortunately T6 mostly, but I have taken it apart. This has been perfectly fine. Though I don't advise taking it apart too many times because T6, just don't do T6. Companies just don't do T6. It seems great. It looks nice, small hardware and everything, but if you will have to take this thing apart several times, you start running into the oh, am I going to accidentally strip this? And the answer is usually, eventually, yes, for T6. But the selling feature here is these scales that are held down right here. They slide into position and lock into position with that. Simple post and like loop catch system. I don't know what that's called for some reason. But it works. It works surprisingly well. In fact, I was concerned when I first got this thing that there would be like some rattle or shake in there. There isn't. It really goes together pretty darn easily. Let's just slide that back on there and pop it back in position. It feels very solid. It feels perfectly solid. There is a tiny bit of gapping, as you can see, because of course they're not being held down ultra tight by screws, but it's very minimal, and you can only really see it if you're looking for it and you're putting light behind it or something that'll contrast heavily. Overall, it's a really cool knife. It's executed really, really well, and it's definitely got a style that may not be for everyone, but this is a fantastic piece. Comfortable clip, even if it is a little bit more angular than it needs to be. It is a little, I will admit, a bit stiff on the clip. The clip could probably use a little bit more thinning out, maybe, for a little bit more flex. But it does hold position. It holds down tightly. It's not super hard in and out of the pocket. It is only a medium depth kind of carry, kind of thing. And there's a tritium slot here and a lanyard hole here for those who care. I am not one of those who care. But it's a pretty darn good knife overall, and I really like this one. I also like the price on this. The base models without the crystal titanium are like $215 or something like that, and you can often sometimes find them with a small discount or on sale or something like that. This, with the full crystal tie handles scales, are $250. Yeah, those are good prices. Also, another little feature that I think is just interesting is this line here, and the flat has been given this like diagonal satin, while everything else has this sort of like it's probably their, what do they call it, the iridescent or pearlescent finish. Maybe it's just a vapor blast or blasting of some sort. But they're blasted here, and these are given that very nice satin treatment, which really does make it pop. Lots of fine details here, and quite good quality for, honestly, the price. Remette's doing some really good stuff. Honestly, I don't know if I can honestly say that Remette very, very rarely, if ever, seems to be completely outrageously overcharging. In fact, I don't think they are outrageously overcharging on anything. Their knives seem to come in at a slightly lower price point than most premium knives, being usually in that $200 range, actually more on the than not, and $300 sometimes. But they're usually doing a lot to justify it, which is nice to see. And their quality, in my experience, has been quite good. Action is, I mean, can't argue with that. Can't argue with that one bit. No play whatsoever. Actually, no. No. For a second there, I thought I felt something, but no, that was not something. And I've had a couple from Remette. I'm hoping to get a bunch more from Remette, but, well, you need money for that. Or you need a bigger channel that Remette sends things into. Hopefully that'll happen eventually, but just because I would like to see more of their stuff, because I like their designs. But until then, that'll do it for this. The Remette Woodpecker summary is done. As I said, if you want to see a little bit more in-depth, and of course full specs and everything like that, the full review will be down below. Until then, okay, sure, until then, I'm done. So until the next time, hopefully I'll see you again. Have a great day. See you later.